Welcome and thank you for attending COSM. The Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully is glad to have you here at our showcase today. I am one of the board members and proud board member, excited for everything that they have to do throughout the year in terms of mindfulness, our programming, our micro credentialing, as well as our upcoming conference that begins tomorrow. So thank you for sharing this opportunity with us and your time. And we look forward to really getting to know you better. Today, I want to talk about Latinas and wellness. And if you have any questions, there will be some time at the Q&A. If you're welcome to email us if you're not able to stay the entire time, as well as there is contact information toward the end. Okay. Okay. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Latinas Wellness is, a little bit about myself, who's the founder, our mission, experience a little bit about some of the modalities that we do have, and I will probably talk a little bit about some of the others from our partners and our members, and then what are the benefits of being part of Latinas in Wellness. So my name is Ohilda, like I mentioned earlier, and I am a Reiki master, certified holistic life coach, level 1 and 2 EFT practitioner, facilitator, and I use tappings, which we will experience toward the end, so you can feel safe in your body, as well as your relationships. I'm certified in Abhyanga oil massage through Sama, and I am a Breathe for Change self and yoga instructor, as well as I teach mindfulness, and I am an Institute for Integrated Nutrition health coach. I know it's a lot. I like to study, which is why I'm part of COSM as a prior educator. I think that learning is just the key to life. I'm an author, and I'll talk a little bit about how I came into that, why it's important as part of Latinas and Wellness, and what we're doing going forward. I'm also an ordained reverend. Which is part of my wellness journey, nothing that I planned, but as many of you know, when you're following your health, your wellness, things show up for you and then opportunities arise, which is, how I'm here and why I'm glad to be connected to all of you. I'm currently on the board of Monroe College Business School, as well as here at COSM. I am a 2021 New York City Leader of Color. And what does that mean and why I mention it is because Leaders of Color is funded by Education Reform Now. And we advocate for policies for education. So education change, choices, really those opportunities in education where we really aren't being seen. And you're welcome to touch base with me on that. I can connect you with leaders in your specific states if you're looking for a fellowship as well. And we also focus on the BIPOC community. We would like to elevate those leaders who want to become members of their community boards, their school boards, parent counseling organizations, and really places where they can touch base with elected officials to make change in education. I received a proclamation for my work with the current Mayor Adams on behalf of when he was part of the Brooklyn President's Office, and that was with my work with the schools in Brooklyn. So I've done a lot of work in the non-for-profit fields, including the Community Action Board, YMCA, United Way, ESPIDA. Um, Honestly, I began in non-for-profit. It is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in a family that really supported, created, and continues to give back to our community. So a little bit more about my background is that my degree is in business and psychology, but my master's is in education. I taught middle school for about 5 or 6 years. And I'm currently working on an anthology called Latinas and Wellness, which is named after the organization and our network. So we will talk a little bit about the anthology coming forward. But you can find my link here, and I'll show it again at the end. It's just a link tree, and it's Latinas in Wellness if you want to find out more information, look at my website, and really just we do have an opportunity for a downloadable ebook as well as some discount pricing for some products there. So a little bit about Us, exactly, because Latinas and wellness, it sounds really catchy, right? Like, what does it mean? First and foremost, I want to say that I named it Latina because I am Latina, but I welcome any and all allies, including men. Latinas and Wellness is a network, and we're a social enterprise that focuses on Latinas who have health, wealth, tech, and wellness industry businesses, right? So, included wealth because I think that financial wellness is really important, but we're dedicated to developing those businesses through professional development, through workshops, talks, training, and really collaboration opportunities. Because I think that for most organizations, including why I'm here and many of us who were part of the showcase, is we grow together, we grow in community. So it's important for me, and as someone who began my wellness journey for myself and then started getting certified and looking into businesses and seeing that I saw other networks, but there wasn't as many that looked like me, that supported one another, that understood business, that I created an opportunity in a space that allowed for us to build on that and support one another and grow. So, what is our mission? So, it's a global platform. My goal is to help any, not again, not just Latinas, but anyone who really wants to grow in this space, specifically Latina focused, because again, we're the minorities in that realm. There's a lot of us in the room now learning, but in terms of growing that business, executives, women to really achieve those goals professionally, whether it's how to launch their products, how to really forecast a business. A lot of times when we come into a passion filled business, it's because we love it. And then as we love it, we want to spend more time with it. And one thing that I was taught by one of my life coaches is that you have to be fiscally responsible for your business, right? So in order to do that, you have to learn from one another, you have to grow. And one thing that I don't share this often, but the few who know me, and I definitely want to share this today, is I began my career in the non-for-profit world in domestic violence. And one of the reasons why I'm passionate about business is because at a time where I was a director of a shelter, we had a program where we were able to move some of our women into transitional housing, but they didn't have the proper documentation, they were missing things, and it was really challenging, especially with space. But if we could prove that they had income, then it was seamless. So we sat down and we brainstormed and we thought, hey, most of these women already have a business. Maybe they're selling Avon, maybe they're selling Amway, maybe they're cleaning. So we went and we got EIN numbers, we created businesses for them, and they were able to just grow and transition and find a better life. And that for me kind of created this spark in me that if you're financially stable, then you can be well. And if you can be well, then you can share in other modalities of wellness. So we do that through training, through consultation, our coaching programs, focused specifically on business development, wealth building, as well as you'll see later on, women empowerment. I think that many times because we've, in the past have been oppressed or didn't have the same opportunities. Sometimes you have that imposter syndrome. So building each other up, really empowering one another and supporting each other so that we can be healthy, so that we can have not just wellness in our personal lives, but also in our businesses. And sometimes business is scary for people, right? We talk about how to grow, and this includes a non-for-profit business. So let me be clear, because I think that sometimes people separate the two. There's still maybe the paperwork is different, but almost everything else that you have to do in business is the same. So if you're in a non-for-profit business, this is still for you. This is an opportunity for you to grow that. And Richard Branson says, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. And why I put that there is because there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be someone who has another idea. There's always going to be, maybe many people, or yourself. Maybe your business, you started it, you stopped it, but the ideas are going to keep coming. The opportunities are going to keep coming. So, number one, if you've started a business and, you paused it or you waited, you can still grow it. You can still move forward with a network, with support. If you have a business and you're worried about, oh my gosh, there's so much competition, we have tools and we have strategies to help you how to compete. And actually, being in a competitive market is a good thing in business. So it's just a matter of identifying that for you and setting you apart. So for our network, really building up your business is our main focus within community. And I talked a little bit about what happens when you probably started and stopped, and why it's so important to grow your business, to be fiscally responsible, and why sometimes people don't. So I want to show you a little example of a talk that I did to kind of motivate you. This is something that happens in being in a network, right? One, I met someone who was able to introduce me to someone who was part of this organization and the founder. I trained with her and I was given an opportunity to speak, as well as an opportunity to be not in the book that you see here, but one that you will see later on, which is part of the raffle. So hopefully you'll win. But I definitely want you to hear these words, not because I'm speaking them, but because really when I was speaking them to myself. And I realized that these words helped me move forward and helped me create Latinas in Wellness.
I cannot be my true self. I'm unable to find love. I'm too old to pursue my dreams or to have that job that I want. These are limiting beliefs. Beliefs, not truths, beliefs. Memories that you have created to hold you back from your true purpose. Beliefs that at one time probably supported you, but now are holding you back. Limiting beliefs. Beliefs that chain you to an understanding of something that is not real. A belief that stops you from being you. I remember wanting more, wanting a better education, a better job, more money. Who doesn't want more money? But somewhere I had created a limiting belief. What I wanted was an abundance mindset. The ability to be free with my goals, to see my vision and act on it. But not knowing that I had a limiting belief, I kept sabotaging it over and over again. It wasn't until I, one, identified it, that I even knew it existed. The tricky thing about limiting beliefs is that we don't know why they occurred. What service or purpose did it have? When I identified mine, I had to laugh because it came from a good place. I was about 12 years old, and my mom was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, would take me every year. And this particular year, we went and donated hundreds of toys to all these children. And I remember coming in a truck with some of her friends and seeing all these children with nothing. Not to say that that's everyone in the country, but these particular group of kids didn't have as much as I'm used to seeing others have. And then I'm home in New York, and I hear my mother saying, you waste a lot of things. You Americans don't appreciate everything you have. And I started to believe that. I started to believe that I didn't appreciate what I had. So what do you do when you don't appreciate what you have? Is that you have less. You don't give to yourself. You don't allow yourself to really reach that success. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved education, so I went and I got my master's and I got good jobs. But a savings? Not at all. Me save money and be abundant? That was something that was limiting me from my own success, from my own security, from my future. But deep down, I had created this idea, this myth, that if I held on to money, if I saved, I was being wasteful. I didn't deserve that. Look at all these children in third world countries all over the world who didn't have what I had. And I had so much already. Limiting beliefs, identifying them. When I finally identified that those two things put together, seeing someone, children just like myself, in need, in want, in desire for things that they didn't have. And then my mother telling me that I didn't appreciate things, that I wasted money, gifts, those two things. Once I identified them, I could accept that they were not real. Yes, maybe I didn't understand their plight, but I could help them. I could support them. I could be part of the community that shares. That does not mean that I'm selfish. That doesn't mean that I can't also receive and be abundant. That doesn't mean that I have to give all of my savings to everyone and not take care of me. A limiting belief. Because if I don't take care of me, what does that mean? I sit here and I think to myself, if I had this limiting belief, what else do I have? For the most part, all of us have them. Some we can identify quicker than others. And when you do identify those limiting beliefs, like I did with mine, let's laugh at it together. Look at it in the face. Stare at it down. Let it know that it's not real. Don't allow it to stop you from your dreams. Don't let it hinder you, because a belief is not real. You can change them. You can challenge them. You can confront it. You could look at it, stare it in the face and say, I don't believe that belief. That belief does not serve me. And because it doesn't, I no longer believe. Take action. Once you can identify it, you confront it, you laugh at it, act upon it. And what does that mean, act upon it? I mean, do something different. I said I didn't have an abundance mindset. I allowed my limiting beliefs to stop me. So my action has to be to go in and look for those abundant things in my life, be thankful for what I have, and then once I'm thankful, then take care of myself financially. Do those things that perhaps I was scared to do because of another limiting belief. Starting my own business, writing books, speaking in public, all of those things that you're passionate about, that you know deep down, maybe you wrote down in a journal, maybe you've known since you were 8 years old, maybe everyone has laughed at your dream and said to you, ha, that's impossible. But think of all the amazing things you see today that once were somebody's dream. I'm sure somebody told them it was impossible. Don't allow your limiting belief to stop you from what's possible for you. Change that mindset. Identify your beliefs. Create beliefs that really will support you and not limit you. Beliefs that would allow you to not only find your purpose, live your purpose, but live happily in your belief. I am Ohilda Holguin.
So I shared that video, and as I'm listening to it, because I think it's probably the first time I've heard it in full. I mean, I wrote it, I lived it. It is my story, and as you can see from the mission of Latinas in Wellness, from what I've said in the speech, all of these things are things that not only are possible, are things that I dreamt about, are things that I'm currently doing, but are things that now I want to help others do. And how do we do that? And I wrote this as a timeline because I think that, you know, even though it probably will move around, but it starts with quality relationships. You know, that opportunity of Latina Talks, of being in the book, came through a relationship. And then relationships are also the reason why I'm here, right? Opportunities are created through those relationships. And then sometimes you have to learn, you know, I wasn't necessarily a speaker, even though I enjoy speaking. I wasn't necessarily a writer, even though I enjoy writing. And same with business. These are all things that I had to learn. You know, I also got a coach. I went to conferences, I joined different networks. And in those spaces, I was able to learn how to do these things. I was able to learn by being a part of that community, how to be a better speaker, how to present myself, what a one sheet is, right? If you want to be a speaker, how to create reels. In writing books, you know, what is the editing process, the publishing process, how to be part of an anthology. And that all came through that community, through being parts of different communities. Those communities allowed for partnerships, which is one of the things that is really important for Latinas in Wellness, which is to create more partnerships, to help, excuse me, to help the members create more partnerships so that they can grow and have joint opportunities. And the opportunities are really where that lies, right? Whether it's you're creating a product, where you're writing on blogs, whether you're being featured, all of those and every single opportunity that I've had to be seen, and I'll show you a little bit more of those coming forward, were because of these communities, because of these relationships, because of these partnerships that really allowed these opportunities to show up. And I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be in business, and what are areas of focus, because I know that there's a lot of different types of networks. Mindfulness is something that we do focus on here as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the areas that we have been working on since the inception of Latinas in Wellness. And there are some expanding opportunities that parts of our partners would be presenting to you. So within those partnerships, we will have opportunities for them to also showcase the way that I am here. So one of the things that we focus on the education side is women in STEM. I recently have, and if you go to Education Week Ed Week, you will see Women Who Master webinar with myself, Logitech, and Girls Who Code. So that was a partnership for girls in STEM, women in STEM, and we are speaking at different spaces on wellness and symposiums that really focus on how to bring women into that space, because it is important to role model and the younger that we reach the youth. And it's been studies that have proven that if you talk about STEM, if you support girls and youth in STEM through middle school, high school, in education settings, they're more likely to enter into the field. And currently, we still have to bridge a gap. Social emotional learning, which is really important, especially given today's need for technology. I think that there's less of students engaging. We did go through a time in the last couple of years where we weren't as social as we have been in the past. I think it's more important now than ever. We do trainings on student engagement, student motivation. You can see that on my link tree. I do have two different websites, but on there, there's content, there's training. We do offer CEUs as well, and we do have a curriculum. So if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know, and I'm happy to kind of go over the curriculum. It's a partnership through the Center for Teacher Effectiveness and Time to Teach. So I also teach and train on emotional freedom techniques. We are working on a certification as we speak. And if you haven't experienced it before, I'm going to give you kind of a brief sample a little later. But emotional freedom techniques is sometimes called tapping. It is used in the education setting. In the last couple of years, they've been using it for test anxiety, for sports performance, and just overall kind of releasing some of those emotions that maybe aren't servicing, maybe your students aren't really expressing, and this is a great tool for that. Recently, I've been asked, and that's something that I kind of thought of doing, but I've recently been asked to talk a little bit more about the Afro Latina culture and what that means. I think that the Hispanic Latino culture can be confusing to folks. So I do try to do my best in representing both and really kind of explaining where this term has come from, where the culture is, what our focus is, and why it's important for us to identify as such. Um, and last but not least, on the education side, as I mentioned earlier, leaders of color, and it's basically advocacy. So if there's something that you really want to make sure that your elected officials are focused on, you're welcome to connect with me. I can connect you to whichever leaders we have in your state, and see, what they're working on, how we can support on the wellness space for your schools, for your educators, and for you. That's something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm happy to really connect you with anyone who's doing some advocacy work. And then on the business side, as I mentioned earlier, women's empowerment, hence the video, ensuring that we touch upon some strategies that can help with the limiting beliefs, with the imposter syndrome, with skill sets of feeling confident. Maybe it's public speaking. So all of these are areas where they can really help women who may not have experience in the past, because that's not a role. But as teachers, as educators, I mean, like I said, I was an educator. I taught. As administrators, you all have this skill set. As a matter of fact, in business, I'm in corporate as well. In business, they look for educators because you have a myriad of skills that really not everyone has. Working independently, creating content, speaking in public, managing groups, managing different personalities. So another area that is new to us, but I'm really excited about, is technology's role in the workplace and wellness. And what does that mean exactly? Since there's been hybrid work and remote work and long distance, there's all these names for it, coming back to work. Even in school settings, there really a lot of management and leaders are looking to support differently, using technology that can be inclusive, that can help you, even if you are remote, feel that you're in the room, that you're heard, that you're seen, and how we can do that within wellness. And sometimes maybe the space doesn't allow for changes in technology, but maybe it's about having strategies that can add to it, like, making sure that meetings are not an hour, that they're 45 minutes, or making sure that, you're being cognizant of when you send an email, or let's make sure that we're purchasing ergonomic products, mice and keyboards, or let's have a wellness room so that people can have breaks and turn off the lights if they're neurodiverse, allowing them to turn off their cameras, if they're in a space. So there's a lot of different tools and strategies. And we do a lot of speaking engagements as well as connect with some opportunities of these products, of whether it's a speaker who's doing brain wellness in the workplace, stress, corporate PTSD, things of that nature, but really talking about wellness. Also, designing. So, if you're in your classrooms, if you're in an education space, if you're designing a new building, how do you include wellness and DEI in those spaces? So these are two topics that I've been speaking about throughout the country, actually, with designers, but it's something that's really been top of mind lately. We also do ERG groups, and I know that not everyone in education, some in higher education have ERG groups. Not everyone in K to 12 does, but it is something that is important, especially now. Employee resource groups where people can feel that community, similar to Latinas and Wellness, but in their jobs, right? In their school districts, places where maybe they need those psychological safety, listening circles. So we provide either training, support, and or feedback in terms of how to really set one up. What are some good strategies, support systems, as well as activations that you can do. We also talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that has an array of focus depending on the needs of your schools or school districts, and then neurodiversity. And I know that um, special needs is one thing, but there's a lot of people who, especially your staff, your teachers, that maybe are not diagnosed. So, I've started recently because I was diagnosed to really, and I was looking actually for my child who does also have special needs. She has sensory processing issues. I was looking into learning more about it and realized that I had it. Realizing that many of us were able to manage it prior to COVID, prior to remote learning, and somehow some of these has been exacerbated. And what can we do? What does it mean? And expressing it. How can we share that with others? And what type of neurodiverse um, challenges you're having. And last but not least, sales, marketing strategies, and any career development. So these are some of the areas of focus, but we're not limited to those areas, especially when we talk about the women who have their own businesses because they may have skincare lines. We have someone who sells yogini, which is yoga with hula hoops. We have someone who focuses on college and career. So we do have an array. And I guess the question is, how do we get there? And I think I've said it a few times, but really it's the partnerships, it's the community. And you'll see here some examples of what being in community has allowed me to be a part of. This was Latinas in, and I have others, but this was Latinas in business. And we did had a national conversation on mental health, wellness, and what does that mean for leaders. And these conversations are really important because you may or may not have those spaces where you are. Boardswell is a organization that looks for board members for nonprofits. And there we also talked about, different, I guess, titles, right? Like the CTO, the CIO versus maybe they're a frontline manager, direct line manager. What are some of the differences in those board positions, and what are some wellness tips that can really support them, whether it's sustainability, whether it's looking at some of the challenges that are happening globally throughout, not just the economy, but some of the personal issues and the societal issues that are having, and how we can create some wellness spaces around that as they're supporting, as board members. And then last but not least, this was part of ACE, which is a Hispanic Alliance for career enhancement for Latinos. And this particular one was recently, if you go online, there's a cafecito con Ace, and I'm happy to write that down. But Ace is HACE, and it's just coffee time on YouTube. And what it is was a conversation about being Afro Latina. As I mentioned, I think that it's important to have people who look like you talk about their experiences. And for some of your students, I know for myself, I didn't have people who looked like me. I never had a mentor, a sponsor. I had to actually seek out Latinas, which is why I'm doing this, because I want others who identify, and others who are allies who can provide these services, to say, hey, I know, I have a colleague, I have a contact, I have a network, I have a community that you could be a part of, that you can feel included, that you can feel safe, and you can ask questions. So I want to talk about the business side a little bit. And it says plan for your product launch. And the reason I say this is because some of us get scared when it comes to growing a business, to having a product. And I wanted to kind of just say, Latinas in Wellness works on that side too. We help you with, how do you plan? So, for example, one of my partners in Celebrity, she is a business coach. Her name is Elizabeth Santiago. You can sit down with her. She can help you find out, how do you plan? How do you scale? What are some metrics, and what are some marketing tips or tools that can support you? Maybe we need to learn how to design, because, I know I don't. I'm still not great at it. My daughter has shoes she designed. I'm still learning on Canva. But we have members who are already doing the work, and or referrals, as well as coaches that can kind of help you with that plan of, hey, I want to launch a book, I want to launch a product, a service. What are some strategies that I can use to help me with that launch? And how does a launch actually work? How can I be strategic when I do this? And this is an example of some launches, right? So we talked a little bit about books, about being an author. The Today's Inspired Latina book that you see here, this is what one of you or a couple of you might be winning. And this is what led, and again, that community that led me to Latina Talks. That's me in little picture in the front. And then the Hope is actually the first book that I was in. Now, I've always wanted to be an author. I always wanted to launch a book, and I just wasn't confident enough. I mean, I'm confident in a lot of other areas, but I just didn't know. And I got tricked into it, but I didn't know it was going to get published. I have Dr. Maroni Lawrence, um, also from another network. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She reached out to me, and she knew the story about my daughter. My daughter is my niece, who I adopted, and I've had since birth. And she said, hey, I would love for you to tell me your story, write it, and submit it. Right. So I did. And then I got back to work, and I forgot all about it, and then I saw that it launched, and I thought, oh my God, I wonder whose story got submitted. And then I got the call that I needed to come to the dinner because mine was submitted. And that was my first published book. And this book has actually won the African American Literary Award for a couple of years. And she has a second book out, which is the college career experience for first generation. But this book really was the first opportunity that I had to tell my story, and that I knew was possible. And because it was something personal, it wasn't scary. I didn't doubt myself. And I didn't know I was chosen. So sometimes that helps. But knowing that I can now remove that limiting belief that we talked about, right? Then I moved into driven success because at this point I made a plan. Driven Success was created by my coach at the time, my business coach. And I worked really hard on my goals, on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to focus on. And with it, I launched my first business. I began really talking about what that experience is, and Driven Success talks about that, which I'm really proud of because it was the first one that really I felt like I was an entrepreneur at that time. Um, these other two, Women on the Rise and Big Boldness Beliefs, this is Blessings is more about my spiritual journey, my wellness journey, and how I became passionate into wellness. And then this is also about wellness and life balance, so work-life balance. Um, and I share this because as you grow your business, you know, yours may be something different. It may be a skincare line, a clothing line, a book line. It may be a tech program. It may be a mindfulness program. It may be a curriculum, whatever it may be, but there are possibilities. The one that you see in the middle, that's Latinas and Wellness, which is named after my business, is an anthology that is actually not completed. I am currently seeking authors. I am launching the application in the next 2 weeks, and we will be, well, I guess launching this book, which will be the one that I actually publish. All these others were partnerships and opportunities where I was. A part of it, but I wasn't the publisher. But Latinas in Wellness is, and I will be the main author. And the goal is to have a launch for the Hispanic Heritage Month. So if anybody is interested, please reach out to myself or someone in COSM if you've misplaced my information. But I would love to learn more about, you know, you, your business, and even if you are a Latina, because I was asked this question before, but you have a focus, you have a Spanish product, if you, what does that look like for you, that you, maybe your audience and your customers, your clients, your students are Spanish, but wellness is a space where you live, please reach out to me and I'm happy to talk to you about what we're looking for. So I wanted to, I talked a lot. There was a lot of different things, but I wanted us to kind of, in the spirit of wellness, talk a little bit and actually experience EFT, some tapping. For those of you who know how to do it, feel free to do it alongside. And just so you know, tapping has what we call extended benefits. So as you hear me, um, you will feel some of the benefits, even if you don't know exactly if you're doing it correctly. And I'm happy to share some resources after this on the COSM website and on our in our spaces and Mighty Networks, so that you can have some additional content and continue doing this on your own if that's something you're interested in as well. So for those of you that know, we use our hands with the meridian points on our face and on the upper part of our body. And then I'm going to verbally say different things that are my thoughts that show up for me. They may show up differently for you, and you may repeat them out loud to yourself. If you're not muted, please mute yourself. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know later. If you just want to listen, that's okay too. But if you see the graph, those are the meridian points. So it's the top of your head, your eyebrows, the corners of your eyes, underneath your eyes, underneath your nose, right by your chin, your two, kind of like where your collarbone is, right? That area. Then a little bit above your heart. Then you have your two underneath, kind of where your bra would be if you're a female. But so your side, underneath your armpits a little bit further down, kind of midway. And then we also use that hand where you see at the edge of your hand, and that's where we do our final tapping. Okay. And if, again, I'm happy to send you videos so that you can understand it better. I know this is not a lot of time to really go over this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about basically what the theme has been: business, limiting beliefs in your business. Okay. So we're going to start with the top of your head. And sometimes when you have limited beliefs, they're negative, but we're going to have a positive EFT experience and talk about and express it in a positive way. So if you want to follow, please do. And if not, feel free to listen. And I'll tell you where I am in the meridian points. Okay. So, top of head, I have limiting beliefs. And as I'm speaking, we're tapping in those meridian points. And meridian points are energy points. If you've ever had acupuncture, those are the points where usually the needles go. And those are points where we hold on to energy that maybe we didn't realize, which is like movement. And I think the session before this talked about movement or yoga, all those release some of those negative energies. So this tapping experience, EFT, also does the same. It releases emotions that are tapped into your body that are held. And doing the tapping on these points helps you let go of some of these energies that are being held. So, top of head, I have limiting beliefs. Eyebrow, and you can use either side. You don't have to use both sides, but I have both sides on here because if you're left handed or right handed, feel free. If you want to alternate, you can also do that. There is no wrong. I know I have limiting beliefs. I am not sure where they came from. Corner of your eye, right? Or end of eyebrow. I've probably have had these beliefs for a long time. I wonder where they came from. I'm not quite sure, but I know I have them. Under your eye. Again, you can use either side when you're tapping and tap lightly. Make sure that it's not painful. You might feel a little soreness sometimes, but that's okay as long as you're not hurting the area. Okay? These limiting beliefs no longer serve me. I don't know why I have them. Underneath your nose, your upper lip. I believe that I don't need these anymore. These limiting beliefs that came, that once served me, I no longer want them. Underneath your chin, I'm not sure how many I have, but it's time to let go of these limiting beliefs. Now, upper shoulder, collarbone area, I know I have these limiting beliefs. I'm not sure how I got them. I know they're not serving me. I have a few, I think, but I don't want them. I really don't. Underneath our underarm, these limiting beliefs have to go. I am ready to release them. I don't want them. I don't like them. And now we're going to anchor it. So, what you do is you grab your hands and you see that the end of your hands, kind of like if you were saluting or if you're um, in martial arts and you're doing that, you would use that little area, tap on that area with your other hands, and we're going to anchor it with a positive belief, one that's going to remove some of these comments that I mentioned, right? It's going to um, reinforce that you no longer need them. So even though I have negative beliefs, and at one time they served me, I know I no longer need them, and I deeply and completely love myself. So even though I created these beliefs, these limiting beliefs that hold me back, that sabotage me, that really are keeping me from my dreams, I know that I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I created these beliefs, I know now I can let them go. I can let them go forever. And I also know that I love myself deeply and completely. So that is EFT. That is a script, we usually call it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. In the sense of it could be longer. It is important that if you're going to talk about something that's traumatic, that you speak to a professional, because we do have skills, strategies that we use for certain things that will come up. But you can work on this on your own, which is one of the reasons why I really like it. Sometimes I'm tapping on like my collarbone if I'm nervous or anxious and nobody knows it. Maybe I'm tapping on, my like the side of my eyebrow and people just think that I have a headache. But it's one of those tools that is just one example of so many that we have in our wellness tool bag. Mindfulness, yoga, um, health and nutrition, like I mentioned, yogini, keratamine. We have life coaching, business coaching. We have massage, Reiki. So there's a huge array of modalities and more that keep coming. Womb wellness, which we haven't touched base here yet tonight, but there's so many opportunities for you to not only learn in the community how to grow your business, but also experience some of these amazing modalities through the network. I wanted to end with, and we will have an opportunity to get my information, but to say something from a Latina, and only because I never really would quote them in the past, and I really have focused on finding my own voice, my own heritage, and who I am. So I wanted to share this from Zoe Saldana, who is Dominican like myself. People think of Latina women as being fiery and fierce, which is usually true. But I think the quality that so many Latinas possess is strength. And I'm very proud to be of Latin blood. And in that, I want to share that not just with other Latinas who are also looking for wellness, for business growth, but in our allies and those who support us. And I just want to thank you all for what you do for us, for what you've done, and for our continued community. Um, Again, thank you, Cosm. Thank you to all the board members, to Lindsay, Tracy, to every single one of you who has participated in the resource, the showcase today, the conference that's coming. This is my information. Ohilda Holguin, the link tree, Latinas and Wellness, and my email, or excuse me, my website is simple, and you can find my email through there at ohilda.com. And I welcome any and all questions, and I thank you for your time. And I see that we have some people here today. And if you have any questions on the chat, um, thank you. Oh, it's all positive things. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm so excited you guys came, and I'm very, very happy that you enjoyed the video. So I will say adios because I have met exactly the time, which I knew I would. But thank you. I won't keep you over, and I look forward to seeing you at the conference. Bye, everyone.